Welcome to the BM Show, all you out there. Today is January 19th, somewhere in the world. We don't know where, but it is January 19th.
If you fly across the international date line multiple times, Hulk Hogan says there's 9 days a week. So that's probably how we're doing this.
Exactly. So here's what's going on, just so you all know, because you guys are listening to this on the date that you should be listening to it. Hopefully, unless somebody gets this and leaks this episode onto the internet, which is possible because things have been leaked. Like the Legend of Zelda games were leaked early, so it is possible this BM show could get leaked. But we are recording this actually after we recorded after we recorded the episode that we just did with Rita's Rewind. The reason being is we had a nice little talk and we were ready to go, so we figured we'd get a little bit of a jump start ahead. This is important to know because the new segment, the Let Me Help You Save What You Have to Pay segment, normally we will be going over what Epic and Amazon are showing, but because we're doing this just an hour or so after the last episode, we won't be covering that this week. We do know that if you remember off of Epic, it was like Escape Academy was going to be free on the 16th until the 22nd. And Amazon, we're just going to cover that on the following episode because Amazon is pretty good about keeping those games up for a while.
Yeah. No, because I used to be like on top of that Amazon thing where I would check it almost daily, and it was like to the point where like it's always the same stuff on there. There's just so many games. It's
Now,
insane.
yeah, I do recommend still checking it yourself if you can because I do know that recently in December there was a period where they brought a whole bunch of like Warhammer stuff in, like a Space Marine, Necromunda, Space Hulk Deathwing, the I think Dawn of War 1 or 2 or whatever the strategy games are, and those weren't on there for very long, but I believe they're on there for at least like 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. But still, if you get a chance, you can check it yourself. If not, we're gonna be checking back on it on the 26th of January.
But guys, why are you doing the show now instead of waiting a week? And it's because it's our birthday week, so we're taking some time off. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to Mike. We're both Capricorns. Not that that means anything. We're part
And
of the
we're both
Jan clan, which is a big thing at my church.
and we're both fired up to do this episode.
Yes. Well, we were talking about it after we wrapped up the last one. We said goodbye to Tron, and we were like, "Well, do you want to just talk about it now?" So we went and we took a quick 15-minute break, and so I'm still sick, as you might be able to hear in my voice. I don't know if you can or not, but
And I'm still awesome.
yes, Mike is still insanely awesome. So the awesome one and I will stick around, and we will do our movie reviews now.
Yep.
Along with Mike doing the return of
What
what you have
genre
to
do you
pay.
like? What do you want to play? Let me help you save on what you got to pay.
Wick, wick, wick.
So let me go ahead and get this out of the way right now, and then we're gonna go hop into the movies. Today, like I said on the last episode, today now I'm going to be talking about when you actually have to cough up some dough rather than just
Ah,
get the game for free. So obviously, when it comes to coughing up the dough, you want to make sure you're not coughing up too much. Now, there's going to be a couple sites I'm going to talk to you about. First thing I always recommend doing is bringing up a Google search and just doing this to kind of give yourself an idea if you are a Steam user. Uh, I would recommend always searching for like when is the next Steam sale, and you'll always be hit with a website that's going to give you an idea what Steam sales are coming, what dates are coming, and it'll always tell you when the seasonal Steam sale will be, because Steam will do a winter sale, a fall sale, a summer sale, and a spring sale. Now, fall and winter usually fall close to each other because of Black Friday and because of Christmas. They want to definitely get those sales. So just kind of keep that in mind when you start looking for when the sales will be. Now with Steam, I always recommend putting it on your wish list and leaving it on your wish list just in case. But I'm actually going to show you something that might be a little bit more useful than that in a way. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into a few of the sites I recommend looking into. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. And I believe that will be this one here. So you should be able to see now website. This is a website I definitely recommend remembering, bookmarking, whatever you want to do. It's called Cheap Shark. So you can just Google Cheap Shark or type in cheapshark.com. And what Cheap Shark does is when you do a search for a game, it's going to pull not only all the platforms that have it, like Steam and GOG and Epic, but it's also going to pull all the stores for you that are selling it too, that are trustworthy stores. And that way, that's a way you can compare the pricing. So for instance, I kind of already typed in a game here. So I'm doing a search for Final Fantasy VII, and we're going to see what comes up on Cheap Shark. So what you're going to see here is you get everything that's Final Fantasy VII, even multiple. You might get multiple entries for it. Like you even have Final Fantasy VIII remastered. You've got the remakes here. You got the original, and if you click on the name, it's going to open up all the locations where you can pick this up with the current pricing. So if you're shopping for the super old school Final Fantasy, on Steam it's going to run you $12, but if you go to Indie then it's only $6.58 to get what's usually like a Steam key. Now, if we go down to like Final Fantasy Remake Integrate here, it's basically Steam. I don't know what Indie is doing there, but wow, they got it super overpriced. But this will you can check this and find where the deals are. So going back to this one, let's say we wanted to get the old Final Fantasy VII. What's also nice about Cheap Shark is you can just click on the one you want to go to, and it'll take you straight to the page with that pricing. So there we go. It took us right to Indigala's Final Fantasy VII page with that actual price that it listed. And as you can see, as we scroll down, it's got the Steam icon here, so it's going to be a Steam key. We could go to, let's do Final Fantasy VIII. That's Indigala is doing that. Let's find one where Indigala is not doing well. That might be a discount. Well, it looks like it's all going to be Indigala is the place to go for Final Fantasy. So let's do a different one. Let's do Doom. Let's try to type Doom correctly this time. So here we go, Doom. So we got Doom at $16.57 at GameBelay. Same thing. Click the name. It'll take you directly to the site. There's that same pricing. Redeem on Steam. So this is a great site to use. Now there's another thing you could do with this. So looking at Doom, if you go down to the bottom, there's a place where it's going to say cheapest ever. So it'll tell you the cheapest price it's been at. So you don't have to go to something like SteamDB, which we will talk about a little later, to see what the lowest price is. But you can also sign up for price notification, which what you can do is you can then set the price you want for this. So let's just say we want to do a target price of $5 and just save that. So now Cheap Shark has saved it. So if I go to to here, it's now in my saved pricing. So I can just click on it. I can always see the pricing, and it will send me an email when the pricing hits that amount. So just like if you have it on your Steam wish list and Steam sends you an email saying it's on sale, Cheap Shark will do that as well too. So that's a good site to know. Let's go back to home.
Taking the bite out of prices. I like that.
What's that?
Taking the bite out of prices.
Exactly. There you go. So a couple of the stores that I want to point out that are on Cheap Shark that you are definitely going to want to sign up for, even if you're not buying something off the bat. The first one is the Humble store, and the second one is Fanatical. So we're going to start by going to Fanatical first. So the reason why you want to go to these is both of these do some really good bundles. So let's just go to bundles here and let's pick Diamond Collection. Pick one at random. So this will give you a list of all the games that are available and the deal that they're doing. So in this case, you can buy 3 games for $15. So basically $5 a game. So you get Ninja Turtles here, you could get Control, and you could get Paranormal PI. Just picking 3 at random. All 3 of those together is going to be $15. And they're always coming up with brand new bundles to do, and they've got quite a bit of bundles. So let's try Killer Bundle, and they last for some good days here. So Killer Bundle looks like it's what? You can get all these games for $15 for this bundle.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is one to get and sign up for. Humble does the same thing. Humble does a lot of bundles, and Humble does bundles for charity. So Humble is actually the place where back in October, I picked up a bundle of Resident Evil 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Village, and and also Revelations 1 and 2. And all the DLC except for there was one DLC from Resident Evil 7 that wasn't included for $30.
Dude, that was beautiful. I took advantage of that too, and then I ended up selling because 3 of the games I already had, so I just sold those 3 keys for a couple bucks over on eBay because I didn't really care how much I got for it as long as I got something more than 0. And so it didn't cover the cost of the whole thing by any means, but it was nice to have a little bit of a rebate.
So let's go to Monster Hunting. So this is probably something like Monster Hunter, I'm guessing. So this is a bundle for Monster Hunter. Pay at least $25 for all of these titles here, and a 25% discount on one of the on 2 of them. It looks like. So actually, it looks like there's a lot of DLC included in this. So I have no idea how much this normally is. It looks like, here we go, $204 normally for all this stuff. You can pay as low as $25. You can also pay less. You'll get less titles for it. Like if I go to 15, I now get 6 items. If I go to 10, I get 4. But you can kind of choose your bundle as you see fit. And it usually tells you what charity that this is for. So this is another really good site just to register for and receive the emails, because Fanatical and Humble, they'll send you emails as to when these bundles come out. So another site I want to show you that is not involved in Cheap Shark. So it can become one of those questionable ones, but I've never had an issue. Well, I take that back. I've had one issue with them where I got a key that came up as being used, but they fixed it within 3 hours. The only other issue is one of my buddies had an issue with them because he didn't want to sign up for the site, and he gave him the wrong email. So that was on him. And that is CD Keys.
I used one similar to that. It was called Penguin Keys.
Okay. I don't know about Penguin. I've heard, I've seen it, but I've never used it. And
I think I've used CD Keys before too for something else as well too. Yeah, you know what? And then I go on eBay and I look up for keys on that too, and I think they're all done by key generators sometimes, because it's and they all offer the same guarantees. Like if the code doesn't work, let us know. Why wouldn't the code work?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've only had one issue, and I probably bought about 30 things from them. But what's really, really nice about CD Keys is that, let's just take here we go, Master Chief.
Oh, I think I used the CD Keys. Did they sell Windows?
Yes. So
I
if you're
bought
looking at
Windows.
Master Chief right here, here's now obviously it's sold out, but here's a Master Chief collection on PC. This is probably going to run through Steam.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. So it would normally be delivered through Steam, but they also have the Xbox versions on it too. So it's multi-platform. So if you're an Xbox player, you may want to check out CD Keys. Whereas Cheap Shark's really only giving you the PC stuff.
Cool.
Now, I just want to show you this really quick. SteamDB. SteamDB is the Steam database, which is great because what you can do is let's do Cyberpunk. Okay, so here you go. Cyberpunk 2077. What you can do with the Steam database is scroll down and it'll give you a price history. So what it does is it tells you, okay, so here's April 23rd, it was this regular price 59, but when you get to June 11th, it was discounted at 50% until June 18th, and then discounted again 15% June 29th of 2023, I should say, and then back up July 13th, and that was a summer sale at that time. Then September 20th, 2023 is back on sale. You can use this for the games to find out how often they're going on sale.
Yeah.
There's also a GOG DB as well too that you can use to check the prices on the GOG games. So this kind of gives you an idea of how often the game goes on sale, so you can kind of plan accordingly.
Okay.
So that's basically all I wanted to talk about. Those are the sites that I mainly use. I do want to talk about one other that you may have heard of, which is Instagaming, which if you listen to Big Daddy Top Hat, he always plugs this one. I'm going to say be cautious of this site.
I looked at them real quick, and they hit me as something like a Europe only type of thing, I think.
It could be, because what happened with me is that I purchased something off of them, which is a good deal, and they gave me a key, I think, that didn't work, and they told me in order to get my key, I need to send a copy of my driver's license.
What?
Yeah, and the reason being, I think, is probably because if it's a legit site, it's because then they can verify that I'm not like stealing somebody's credit card and buying a lot of game keys to sell them back to make money or whatever.
When you buy a whole bunch of them from the same site, though, I mean, it's like go and shop around.
Yeah, so I don't feel comfortable sending my credit card or my driver's license with my picture and information on it to a company just to get a 50% off discount on a game. But that's my experience. So if anyone's listening to that had a different experience with them, go ahead and share it. I'd love to hear it. But that was the one and only time I've ever gone to that site. And whenever I see anything on sale, I just pass up and wait for it to go on sale somewhere else.
Mm.
So.
All right.
So that's it for that segment.
All right. You got a closing song for that?
I do not have a closing song. Don't really even need a closing song for it. It closes itself.
There you go. And it's been closed.
Yep. All right. So that brings us now to our movies. And which one's up first? So
Sure.
It sucks or it's something that you don't want to do. Well, guess what? Ben did it, so you don't have to.
Woohoo! Let's do this.
I want to make it. Hold on. I got to make an announcement right now. I just noticed that Tron has just started playing River City Ransom Underground.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this a week later, yes, he's still playing it.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
All right. I'm still fighting this cold, folks, so bear with me. Ernest Goes to Camp is a 1987 comedy film directed by John R. Cherry III and is the first feature-length film in the Ernest P. Worrell franchise. The film follows Ernest, a bumbling maintenance worker at Camp Kikuki?
Camp Khakis.
Khakis, sure.
I'm sorry, it's Camp Kamari.
Kamar, who dreams of becoming a camp counselor. Who dreams of becoming a camp counselor. When a group of juvenile delinquents arrives, Ernest is assigned to mentor them, leading to a series of comedic misadventures. Simultaneously, a mining company schemes to take over the camp's land, prompting Ernest and the campers to join forces to save the camp. The film emphasizes themes of teamwork and self-discovery, and it was a commercial success despite mixed reviews. So, I've watched, out of all the Ernest movies, I kind of fell into a bit of an Ernest rabbit hole, and I watched all of them except for Slam Dunk, and I haven't watched Ernest Goes to Jail yet, because that's supposed to be the very best. That's supposed to be the best Ernest movie, so I've been kind of holding it off. I watched a little bit of it, but I haven't finished watching it yet.
Okay.
Ernest Goes to Camp is Disney's first attempt at doing a Ernest movie, and you can get the feeling that they kind of don't know what they're doing yet. They have an idea, and Ernest is probably the best part of the movie. Jim Varney's performance, he does Ernest perfectly well, just like he's supposed to, and it just doesn't feel it feels a little too mean-spirited, and also there's guns everywhere in this movie. Like, and dude, I am for pro gun and all that, but this is a children's film. Well, and there's guns being fired left and right in this children's film. So it's like, it kind of feels to me like they almost, I mean, and I know the movie did really well, and it did lead to an entire franchise. So it obviously does have good appeal to it. But when it comes to like versus Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Saves Christmas, I think, has more of the heart of an Ernest movie than Camp does, is what I'm pretty much saying. But it does have a musical number, which I love. It's I'm Glad It's Raining. It's a very, very, very sad song. It's in one of the saddest moments of the movie. And it's just it's like, if you liked, what's that one from the Muppets?
Connection?
Rainbow Connection. It's like another Rainbow Connection.
Now, is that Jim Varney singing it?
Yeah, he wrote it too.
Wow.
And it's like, it's a very simple song. Like, there's only like 4 notes in the whole thing, and but it's very sad, and it's a scene in the movie. So okay, so I read the description. The whole movie basically is, he is the maintenance worker at this camp. He wants to become a camp counselor, which in some of the movies you actually see as a recurring thing, where he is the bottom employee and he wants to be the next to bottom employee. So he wants to be a camp counselor. They bring in these group of delinquents, according to the description, and that's pretty much what they were. All of these guys were the most unlikely looking delinquents you have ever seen. They look like they're all the rich white kids from these movies. And they're like, oh, you'll be the bad guys. It's almost like, if you remember the Mighty Ducks, and they had like the evil hockey team, it's almost like they took the evil hockey team from the Mighty Ducks and said, okay, you guys are you're cons, you're children criminals now.
That's something I want to mention, though, because I think that you did an actual really good job in this movie, because I'm convinced that you were that Arthur kid. Right, was his name Arthur? Okay.
Yeah, that was a different life. That was a totally.
I saw that kid, and I'm like, dude, that kid just makes me think Ben right there. Sure,
if that makes you feel better. I wish I was getting residuals from the movie, because the movie did really well. And let's see here. Let me get the stars of the film, because this thing was supposed to tell me that. I need the stars from Goes to Camp, because I haven't gone over the cast list yet. The movie stars Jim Varney, Victoria Racimo as Nurse St. Cloud, one of the only women in the whole movie, John Vernon, Iron Eyes Cody, Lyle Alzano, oh, wow, I murdered that name, Scott Menville, and Jacob Vargas. That takes care of that covers that. Yeah, like I said, the movie, it just feels like it's the Ernest movie formula is still in the oven. It's almost ready.
Gotcha.
And that's when the movie, it also, like, the whole thing, it's just so mean-spirited. Like, the kids don't like him. The other counselors don't like him. The only person who likes him is the nurse. Everybody else thinks that Ernest is a big dummy and nobody likes him, and they all treat him like shit. And I'm like, Ernest needs to have some level of friends or it feels unfair.
Yeah.
Because he's a lovable idiot.
Mm.
I'll admit it, Ernest is a moron, but he's a lovable moron.
Well, okay, so I didn't watch the full movie, and there's something I want to talk about in the movie in a bit here.
Okay.
But I think in a way that works, and you can tell me if this happened in this movie, where by the end of the movie, like everybody loves him.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's where that whole thing where he's a big lovable idiot really works when you have all the characters hating him, and it works very well.
Yeah.
So I can understand why they did that, and I don't think that they really need to have somebody or a group of people that like him so much, because by the end they're going to force that on as being the to make all those characters dynamic in a way.
I mean, I could get it. Like, okay, so maybe he's not liked by everybody, but does everybody have to keep giving him a hard time and for like making his life harder? It's bad enough that this guy can barely tie his shoes.
Well, that's junior high school right there.
Yeah, I guess. I thought it was a little mean spirited through the movie, and also the fact that like dude, I have friends. I know so many people who carry guns on them all the time. Mm-hmm. So I am very Second Amendment, but when the movie seems like a gun ad, there's so many effing guns in this. And I'm like, this is a children's movie that takes place at a camp, a summer camp. I can see if everybody had bows and arrows, because I used a bow and arrow when I was in summer camp. But why is everybody walking around shooting guns? All the bad guys had guns. And then they had like the guy, I don't know, there's this show that was on a couple of years ago. This was back in the 80s. There was a show on where it was about a guy who was a pro wrestler. And he was also like raising his daughter, I think. And he had to go and pretend not to be the pro wrestler when he was around his kid or something like that. The guy from that show, I think he might have been the guy also from the college years. Remember they had the guy who ran the dorm. Yeah. He is one of the bad guys in the movie who ends up becoming like if Ernest was David, this would be Goliath.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Ernest has to take him down, and that's so. There are satisfying parts of the movie, and it's not a horrible kids movie, but it is definitely not the best Ernest movie. It definitely falls short on the heart that is in Christmas. I still think that Ernest Goes to Christmas, I bet you when I finish watching all the Ernest movies, I'm going to think still that Ernest Goes to Christmas is not just a good Ernest movie, it's a good movie.
And I want to point out when Ben says Ernest Goes to Christmas, he really means Ernest Saves Christmas.
Ernest Saves Christmas. Ernest Goes to Christmas. I'm sorry. I meant Saves Christmas.
I do want to mention something about Ernest Goes to Camp, and I'm glad that we got into this. You got into this whole Ernest phase, and I'm glad that you went back and watched this movie because it got me to sit and watch this movie as well too. The reason being is because for a long time there's a part in the movie that I've been thinking, what is it? Where is it from? And that's the part. Is this your smallest needle? I could not see the life of me what movie that was from, but now that I saw it in Ernest Goes to Camp, I'm like, okay, mystery solved.
Now, I started watching this show on YouTube. I want to give them a shout out because hopefully maybe they'll hear this. And they're in Massachusetts, so the chance of doing a crossover between our shows is very possible. They do a show called Ernest Roulette. And I don't know if it was their review or somebody else's review. They couldn't understand why the Coke machine was in the movie. And I'm like, it's because he's a Coke spokesperson. He's been the spokesperson for Sprite and Mellow Yellow, both Coke brands, forever at this point. That's how he started. He started doing commercials, but those were the two big brands that he did. Yeah. And it's like, of course they're going to have Coke brand throughout all the Ernest movies. Like if you watch Ernest Saves Christmas, it starts off with a Coca-Cola ad. Is literally how the movie starts. Yeah. So there's a very strong connection between Coca-Cola and Ernest that's always throughout all the movies. Yeah. And as a lifetime Coca-Cola drinker, and who's literally is in a house right now that Coca-Cola, if it wasn't for them, this house might not be here. So So my stepfather works for Coke and he's my landlord. So. Gotcha. Yeah. But that I think kind of wraps that movie up. I mean, if you want to watch it, it's not a horrible movie. It's if you're looking for the best Ernest movie, it might be it's in the top of them, but it's not the top of them. If that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
So it's not it.
It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Nowhere near the worst. The worst we'll get to a little later.
All right. So now I think it's time to dive into the main stuff.
So we're doing Breakfast at Tiffany's first?
Yes.
All right. Breakfast at Tiffany's is a 1961 American romantic comedy drama film directed by Blake Edwards, starring Audrey Hepburn as Holly Golightly and George Papard as Paul Varjak, based on the Truman Capote's 1958 novella. The film chronicles the life of Holly, an eccentric socialite living in New York City who befriends her neighbor Paul, a struggling writer. As their friendship deepens, Holly's carefree lifestyle and hidden vulnerabilities are explored. The film is widely regarded as a classic of American cinema, featuring Hepburn's iconic performance in the song Moon River by Henry Mancini. Despite changes from the source material, it received critical acclaim and remains culturally significant even to this day. When I went to Korea in 2014, there was a poster at a bus stop, and it was Audrey Hepburn as Holly Golightly. Okay. And it was to promote a salon.
So usually I'm supposed to go first when it's your movie.
Sorry, I just saying
okay.
Because
it's okay. That's fine.
Significant. I'm just making an observation. Go right ahead, Mike.
I'd like to yield my time to Ben to go ahead and go first for this one.
You made me stop so you can hand it right back to me.
Absolutely.
So what this movie is about is that Holly Golightly was she was a child bride who ran away from her husband, and she's living in New York City, and she's making money as a call girl. But she usually with a call girl, you go out to dinner and then you go back to the house and you do with the girl that you paid. She finds a way to get out of it because she doesn't want to be a call girl, but she's trying to act like she's got it all together, but she totally doesn't. And everybody sees her as she wants to be seen, as this socialite who has all her shit together, and she has all these great friends and has all these wild parties. But her neighbor Paul, played by George Papard, which if you've seen the A-Team, he is the captain of the A-Team.
He loves when a plan comes together.
Yeah, he loves it when a plan comes together. His character ends up falling in love with her, and it's just a huge love story where he gets in. He's able to get through her outer shell and find the inner Holly Golightly, and that's pretty much what the story is about. It's a beautiful movie in all parts, except for Mickey Rooney. I called him Mickey Rourke last week. Mickey Rooney, except for Mickey Rooney, who has a Asian character which would never, ever, 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 ever fly today.
With the fake teeth. You got to point out the fake teeth.
Yo, make too much noise. Yeah, that type of stuff. And never fly today. Never fly today.
Mm-hmm.
But it is an American classic. It is a beautiful movie. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it, Mike. So go ahead. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Burn it. Burn it to the ground. Okay, so I want to make something very clear. I'm not going to say that this is a bad movie. I'm not going to say it's a good movie. I'm going to say that this is a movie that highly pissed me off. And it's mainly because of what it glorifies or seems to glorify in a way, and that's mental instability. I knew from the get-go, from the very first, with the part where she goes out onto the balcony and is looking at the Paul through the window, I'm like, oh no, something's seriously wrong here. And then in that scene, she watches a lady leave his place. She goes in. Let's just sleep here like this. Look, woman, You put him in a position in the bed he cannot sleep in, and you're just going to go straight to sleep. Then she's talking her sleep, and he mentions it. He's like, well, you're so nosy. No. Okay. So a lot of people make jokes about things like, oh, I think that's my wife, or oh, I've literally dated women that are like this. Not once, but I've dated women, multiple. I've also avoided women like this. There is a serious problem with the character of Holly that needs to be addressed massively. So there are movies that I look at as being a lot of worth in them. They have some sort of a message in it. I look at movies that have no worth. They're not even to an enjoyable part. Breakfast at Tiffany's, to me, has negative worth because of the way that it glorifies this. And there was a point in the movie where I was hopeful for the movie, because it's a part where they're in the library and Paul says to her basically that she's crazy. He finally nailed it on the head. What's wrong with this character? She needs mental help. And then all of a sudden, after that whole part's gone. And we're back to, oh, I love you. Oh, you don't need to go. You can stay here. I'm in love with you. I'm sorry. The characters in this, I can believe the characters we're going to talk about in the next movie more so than I can believe that these characters are real, because there's just nothing. There's no real depth to the other cast. And then there's Holly, which should be in a mental institute, that it seems to be like everyone's just pining over. She can't make a decision herself. She doesn't even know people's names. I mean,
her name's not even Holly Golightly. Like
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like she's living a fake life. Everything's a lie, and she's trying to keep this lie together. And it could lead, in doing that, could lead you to insanity, I guess, because that's what it did to her.
You're telling me that Homeboy Tex came all the way from Texas, said, that's my wife over there. She goes, you need to go. Oh, totally. I'm going to go. She says, oh, the what was it? The wedding was annulled. Dude, I can't believe a word that comes out of her mouth because of the fact that I've known people like this. And I will say that one of the people that's like this, and this is why I can't believe the character of George Papard plays, messed me up so hard in the head that it took me years to where I could actually have a conversation with somebody without thinking, does this person even care what I have to say? Am I saying something that's going to be okay? Where is it going to fit in the conversation? Just because of the way that I had to deal with that situation with that one person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as the movie, as being a movie, like being a story, it's an okay but unbelievable story because so many people are in love with her. But being what it seems to be glorifying, I'm to the point where I'm not going to say that it's a bad movie, but I'm going to say that if I see it on the TV, the first thing I'm going to do is turn it off, because I don't want to be watching that situation again and getting to the point where I'm just so frustrated with who she is that I don't want to see it. So, I mean, I understand why you like it. I understand that it's a classic. I'm not. I think it might be overrated, but
okay. So I'm a fan of hers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that I'd like to do Sabrina one day. And so there's one thing she does in Sabrina that makes me, like, it drives me wild, and I mean, like, in a good way. The way she says the word garage. Because she has a French accent, and she says garage, and I'm like, oh yeah, say it again.
So I want to let you know, because we talked about Sabrina and we talked about doing that for the 9th. I want to make it clear, I'm still down to do that.
Okay.
even though this was a problematic movie for me, because this is one where I kind of wish that I could go back and unwatch it, but I'm just going to move on. And I know that it's something that I'm not going to go out of my way and watch.
Yeah.
So
Audrey Hepburn.
I do want to mention a couple other things.
Okay.
First off, this is kind of sort of on the subject, but off of it. George Peppard. I got to tell this story. My mother hates George Peppard, like the actual person. The reason why is because she was on a flight with her mom and dad, and he was on that flight. And evidently what happened was he was walking down the aisle of the airplane smoking a cigar. And when he came to, I guess my grandmother said something about, saw the jacket on the seat where he was sitting next to where he was sitting, and said, "Oh, that must be a movie star's jacket." Don't know if you heard that or not, but he walked by my mom and blew smoke in her face and then just walked on. That was the only interaction she had with him ever. She didn't say anything to him or anything like that before or after it. He just did that.
That sucks. I can understand why you're not liking him after that. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. Another thing that I want to mention, and this really upsets me, really upsets me, is that the fact that they use Moon River throughout the whole song when they could have used the Breakfast at Tiffany's theme song.
That wasn't written yet.
It doesn't matter. I got 2 words for that. Marty McFly.
Marty McFly. Yeah, I got this song called Breakfast at Tiffany's. It just happens to be perfect for your movie. So the original writer, he did not want her to be Holly Golightly. He wanted Marilyn Monroe.
You mean he didn't want it to be Audrey Hepburn?
He didn't want to be Audrey Hepburn. He wanted to be Marilyn Monroe. But in the end, like I think it was the studio that wanted her. Somebody wanted her. They pushed her into the role, and it worked out for the better. Because could you imagine Marilyn Monroe doing this? Well, at least Audrey Hepburn, she's got that strong accent, but at least she knows how to act.
Yeah. Well, I guess she did good with what she had.
Yeah.
With the role she had to play. So I'll admit that. But it was just the role that she had to play is a problem for me.
Yeah. This was her breakout role. This was not her first movie. Her first movie is Roman Holiday. And it was this is the one that she's remembered for. If you ever see a picture of Audrey Hepburn, it is most likely her dressed up as Holly Golightly. And the only thing that has to do with anything at Tiffany's is literally the beginning of the movie. She's eating her breakfast outside of Tiffany's in Manhattan.
That's not accurate, because they went back to Tiffany's at one point, and
that's right. Didn't he buy her something over at Tiffany's?
He had the Cracker Jack ring thing engraved.
That's right. I forgot about that scene. Yeah. But like the movie being called Breakfast at Tiffany's is like there's only like she eats breakfast outside of Tiffany's in the beginning of the movie. That's it. Yeah. There's your title, folks.
That's because she has multiple personalities, and probably one of her personalities during the whole movie was thinking about eating breakfast there. So while we were watching the movie and none of that happening, her character is watching the movie and seeing herself eating that while singing, what about Breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, I think I remember the film.
But I don't know. So how about the party she had at her apartment?
Oh my gosh.
That was just a crazy party. It was like you barely know, like I know it was like supposed to be like it was like the definite like 60s party that you would see like if you watch the Jetsons used to have, where they would have like Judy Jetson would have a party, and it looked like a Judy Jetson party.
Well, that okay, so that felt kind of pointless, except for the fact that she met the Brazil guy. That's another problem with this movie, is that all of a sudden it's like you watch this party scene and then this guy's gone, and then all of a sudden you find out later in the movie he's now relevant again.
Yeah, there was some interesting stuff with like the storytelling and that might have just maybe there was because they had to adapt it from the book or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but when I first watched the movie, there were a few parts that were a little hard to follow. But when you realize it's not really about any of that, it's all about her and him.
Yeah.
That's what the whole movie is about. It's about their relationship, him falling in love with this beautiful, insane
Crazy
woman. Yeah, I was gonna say insane, but crazy works. This beautiful, crazy woman, and him, and him allowing, getting her to the point where she allows him in, and that happens at the end with the cat, and the cat goes missing, and she finds the cat, and then they finally have their embrace, and that's when she finally lets him in, and that's the end of the movie. Yeah. And you're like, well, what happens next? Does he have her committed after they get married?
Well, no, what's going to happen is basically she's going to annul it. She's going to bring on a new life because she's going to have a new personality in her head.
She's going to move from New York to L.A. and start again.
His life is going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And he's going to be like, what just happened? And yeah.
To accuse him of like rape, and then the judge will be like, guilty, pay her $2,000 in alimony. I don't even make that much. It's 1967. Nobody makes that much.
And then what's going to happen is he's going to write a song that's going to go like this. Last night, what about breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, I think I remember that bitch. Oh, yes, I know she is so freaking crazy.
I said, well, at least she's hot. Good
way to end it. Which is, I want to point out, I can't do a Sigourney Weaver to 10 on Audrey Hepburn. It doesn't feel right because I think she's dead now, isn't she?
She's been dead since like the 90s.
We go. I can't.
The end of her life, she spent doing charity work.
Mm-hmm.
She was very involved in what's that one with the United Nations? UNICEF. She was very involved with UNICEF. She's one of the good ones. But then she had a tough life too. If you, I watched the Audrey Hepburn story. This is actually how I got introduced to Audrey Hepburn. I was we've talked about Jennifer Love Hewitt. Being a Jennifer Love Hewitt fan, I'm watching all her movies, and one of them is called the Audrey Hepburn story. So I watch it. And the Audrey Hepburn story is like, even though it's supposed to be the entire story of this woman's life, a good chunk of it is about this one movie. It's all about Breakfast at Tiffany's, really.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they play Moon River to death. You get to hear Jennifer Love Hewitt sing Moon River. And I'm like, who is this Audrey Hepburn?
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I pretty much watched a good chunk of her movies. Not all of them, but I watched a good chunk of them. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, she's classy. She's beautiful. She's got this cute little accent. I like her.
And that's just one of the people in her head.
That's just one of the people in her head. And with that, I think we're ready to move on.
Yes, I think we are. Now, I want to point out that I'm not going to do the Sigourney Weaver to 10 for Audrey Hepburn. I will be for the next movie, but I think this is the last time we're going to do the Sigourney Weaver to 10 because I think that's getting stale at this point.
Yeah, people don't even know what you're talking about anymore, which is funny because mentioning Jennifer Love Hewitt had to do with the Jennifer Love Hewitt movie.
That's true. That's true.
So we're bringing it full circle, folks. Full circle. Mm-hmm. All right. So are you ready?
I am ready. And wait, hold on. I'm not ready. You're using Wikipedia for this one, right?
Yeah, I have Wikipedia open right now.
Don't forget to leave it up.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl is a 2009 Japanese gore film. It is directed by Yoshimaru. Oh, I'm not touching these names. It premiered at the New York Asian Film Festival in June 2009. It is based on a manga of the same name by another game that I am not going to touch.
Okay. Go for it. You're up.
This movie was weird, but kind of fun. Mm-hmm. It reminded me a lot of Scott Pilgrim in a way. It seemed like this is what Scott Pilgrim was trying to do. Mm-hmm. It was bloody as all hell. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those movies I didn't mind that you made me watch it, but I don't think I'm ever going to want to watch it again, except now I have to watch it again to make clips for this. But other than that, I'll never touch this movie again. Mm-hmm. It's in a beautiful, either HD or might even be 4K up on YouTube. It was a beautiful print of the movie. Mm-hmm. The movie is Okay, so with this movie, do you want to tell me what the movie's about, or do you want me to tell you?
I want you to keep talking about it.
Okay, so the movie, it takes place in high school, and the prettiest girl in the whole movie is this vampire girl. I thought she was the prettiest girl in the movie, and she.
Okay, so I'm going to jump. Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you want to jump in? Go right ahead.
No, I want you to mention the other one, and then I'm actually going to do the Sigourney Weaver to 10, and then we'll go back to you. We'll
Okay.
get out of the way.
All right, go ahead.
No, you got to mention the other girl too.
Oh, okay. Then there's also so there's a vampire girl, and she, like I said, I think she was the prettiest girl in the movie. And then what was she? Monomi? Which one was she?
Monami.
Monami. She was Monami, and then there's and Keiko. Keiko, and they are both basically, it's a love triangle. They're both in love with the same guy. He comes off like he doesn't really give two shits about either one of them. He just wants to go to school. He just wants to learn. And they have this tradition where if a girl likes a boy, instead of the boy giving the girl chocolates, the girl would give the boy chocolates.
This is actually how it's done in Japan. So and I think this is also how it's done in Korea too. Is on Valentine's Day, the girl is supposed to give candies to the boy that they're interested in. Then there's something called White Day, which is exactly a month after, which is March 13th, where then the boy reciprocates to the girl that he likes.
Ah, okay. So yeah, so this is an Asian culture thing. I thought it was. I thought this was like a Japanese. It felt to me like this was a Japanese thing. And this is it's supernatural. It's got vampires and Kiko. Her father is the vice principal, and they first present him as being this like pussy character who just yes sir whatever, just please don't hurt me. But he ended up finding out that he's actually like a witch doctor who is the Frankenstein of this movie.
He's Dr. Frankenstein, basically.
Yeah, he's Dr. Frankenstein, but they dress him up like he's some kind of Japanese voodoo doctor.
It's kabuki style.
Kabuki style, yeah, a lot of it's kabuki style. Sorry, I'm if I'm being insensitive, I don't mean to. I don't know the words. So yeah, and so he wants to. He's like working with the school nurse, who is what all the boys have a crush on the school nurse. There's a whole scene where she's like bending over and they're all like looking through her window like, oh, she's so hot. Yeah, he's looking for body parts because he wants to create life out of like Frankenstein. He wants to do it with the Frankenstein experiment. And yeah, I don't want to go too far in it. I don't want to take your thunder.
Okay. So I'm going to do the Sigourney Weaver 10 really quick, and then I want to hear a little bit more about what you thought, and then I'll jump in. So Sigourney Weaver to 10, let's start with Yuki Kanamura, which was the lady that played Monami. On a scale of Sigourney Weaver to 10, I give her a wingman material. I didn't find her all that attractive. Now, what's interesting is she and the girl that plays the Frankenstein creation, Frankenstein Girl, they're both models, and there's a certain type of model in Japan where they're geared towards being seductive to basically sell magazines to the younger generation. Now we have that with our models where you're going to see their shirt open or whatever, but this is like their main goal, and both of them are this type of model that are coming into act. So I don't see the appeal for that girl. Now for Eri Otogoro, which is the girl that plays Frankenstein Girl. Keiko, yes. So on a scale of Sigourney Weaver to 10, I give her even as Frankenstein Girl, oh yes.
You found her attractive.
You know what? It's crazy because the more she became Frankenstein Girl, I thought the hotter she got.
I did like her outfit. She was wearing like this the whole time. She's wearing this black school outfit, but she's got like accessories on it and stuff. We'll
get to that. We're gonna get to that. Trust me. But yeah, it's just weird. Like even with like all the screws in her face and everything, I'm like, dude, she is actually a really attractive lady. So, but I'm gonna go give it back to you if there's anything else you want to say about it. Is there anything else that you want to discuss about the material in the movie?
Well, like I said, it was a very bloody film. There
Mhm.
was blood almost for the sake of having blood. A lot of it there were scenes in this that reminded me of the angry video game nerd movie,
Mhm.
especially when they were fighting and they're hanging and then you could see the models and you could tell that it's a model. Like
Mhm.
you could tell that special effects are cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this just reminds me of the fight in Las Vegas in the angry video game nerd movie where there was like obviously cheap effects going on and like it's one of those things like if you're gonna make the effects cheap, at least make if you're for comedic effect, just make it obvious.
Mhm.
And that's what they did. And because the movie is kind of played a little for laughs, I think. It's
Mhm.
very campy.
It's all about laughs.
Yeah, it's very, very campy,
So.
which the laughs work almost all the time,
Mhm.
unless you're talking about a particular group of girls who go to this school who
Mhm.
are all Japanese, but they
Mhm.
think they're African.
Mhm.
And they are, one of them literally admits to waking up every morning and putting dark makeup on her face and all over her body so that she can look like she's black.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'm like, this movie would never come out in the States.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Can I go ahead and jump into it now?
Please do.
I will say at this point, Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl. Okay, there's two reasons why I recommended this for this. One is because I actually love this movie, and I think it's probably in at least my top 25 movies, if not my top 10 movies. Um, and another reason why I recommended it is because you gave me not the Wizard of Oz, and I told you at one point revenge was coming, and this was the movie I actually planned for the revenge. I'm a little shocked that you didn't blast it, but I'm glad that you mentioned that last part, which is what I was trying to drag out of you. Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl is probably one of the most misunderstood movies. And a lot of it's because of the cultural difference.
Mm.
This movie, you said this wouldn't be on the States. This was in the States. This was actually on Netflix. And this was on Netflix when you were able to review movies and, and put all your comments on there. One of the things that this movie got hit with was, oh my gosh, this movie is so racist. Okay, so this is where everything's misunderstood
Yeah, I'm not
because
saying the movie. I'm saying that this would be a misunderstood as being racist because anytime you put anything like this into a movie,
mm,
it's immediately going to be misunderstood.
well, let's discuss this.
Okay.
Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl takes everything to 11 on a level that Spinal Tap would be jealous about. So there's something called Gonguro, and you can actually Wikipedia Gonguro. Gonguro is actually Japanese blackface, and it's not done in a disrespectful way. It's done in a lifestyle way, where people actually do that. They put the black makeup on their face, and that's how they go out and live their life. Um, and what else was there in this movie? Lolita dress, which is what Frankenstein Girl and her Keiko and her friends are wearing, is an actual style and a lifestyle, and they're very much sweet and innocent and everything like that when they're dressed like this. And they took her character and they made her that sweet and innocent part where she's like screaming, "Papa! Oh, I'm such a kid!" But then they hammered her with such an attitude that you wouldn't get from that. Vampire Girl is doing a style that's called kogo, which is a Japanese style where the girls live their life basically in their schoolgirl uniform, and what they do is they take their socks, they wear these like loose high um like warm comfy style looking socks, and it's part of that costume, and they live their life like this. And then you had like the cutters, which is something that happens in that country.
They
uh
were like celebrating it. They were having a
yes,
contest to see who can cut themselves
exactly.
the most.
That's where this movie is so misunderstood, because it's taking all these styles and things that are actually in Japan and emphasizing them to a level that's just out of proportion.
Mm.
And it's really hard to get that without really knowing them. And that's part of the style of these type of movies, because this type of style of movie where you have this blood and gore, but it's done in a way that's comedic, is actually pretty common.
Mm.
And it does these wild things. Like there's another one that I know of called Helldivers, where they actually have a guy fighting a car and the car is fighting back, because they want to make it that silly style that's funny, but they still want to make it a gore fest.
Yeah.
And that's where this movie has to emphasize these things. And I think one of the best scenes that shows this emphasis is where the doctor, the principal, has to tell the nurse, "You're being too seductive." And then she, like, her character shifts and she changes from being that oh kind of character to just being a little more normal. And that shows you where they want to take this out of proportion.
Yeah.
So also, I love the music in this movie. The music is done so great. It's got that 60s style, but it always hits at that scene where it's just like blood's pouring everywhere. And I think that's just so very well done.
Yeah, and there's just like they're loving it. There's like yeah, the blood was just ridiculous. It was like if you ever seen the uncensored version of Kill Bill Volume 1, and they show you the scene with the crazy 88, but it's in color. It's that would be the light version of this.
Hold that thought.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Keep going what you're saying, and then I want to put Kill Bill on the back burner.
You gotta think, because the Kill Bill, that scene there, like they thought that was so bad in the States they had to put it in black and white, and I'm like, that's nothing compared to what's in this movie. Yeah. Nothing.
Yep. Now, I do want you to do something for me here. You still have the Wikipedia up, right?
Yes.
This is something you probably didn't catch. Go down to the actors and tell me who was the... Okay, so do you remember the Chinese teacher, the one they took the lungs from?
Yes.
Do you know, does that guy look familiar or anything at all?
Takashi Shimizu?
Good, I'm glad you said that. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Ju-on, also known as The Grudge, is a Japanese horror franchise created by Takahashi Shimizu.
And that's why I love that in the class he was teaching about the series in the class.
He's common in these type of movies to where he's got the one, he had a shirt on that said like The Grudge when he was walking through like jail cells. He shows up in these movies a lot. Now that's just one of them. The other one is, do you remember Monami's mom, the one that had the blood rollerblades or whatever?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Ahi Shina.
Does that sound familiar at all?
I'm looking at her.
Audition is a 1999 Japanese horror film directed by Takahashi Miike and written by Daisuke Tengen. Adaptation of Ryu Murakami's 1997 novel. It stars Ryo Ishibashi and Ehi Shina. That was the
girl from Audition.
And she's very common in these type of movies. She got big. Her two big movies, I believe, are Audition and Tokyo Gore Police. And Tokyo Gore Police, she's the main character in this style of movie.
I literally just rewatched our review of Audition, and like you talk about how she was like amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even put it together that these were these people that, I mean, the guy from The Grudge, I just know that he was talking about The Grudge a lot, so I figured that maybe there was some connection between the two movies. And now that you tell me that was the guy who made The Grudge, that makes total sense. And then this one here, to find the girl from Audition, and I didn't even, she wasn't on screen long enough, I guess, for me to put it together that she was in it. But I
was originally going to have you watch a movie called Tokyo Gore Police, where she actually is the main star in it, and it's this style where it's all this blood and stuff. But I went back and watched it, and I didn't even like it anymore.
Mm.
So I didn't want to put you through that one. But she does the one I was talking about, Helldivers, where there's a guy fighting a car. She actually plays like I think one of the main villains in that one too, and that's also this kind of style.
Okay.
So
So yeah, this movie, I don't know if I recommend it or not. I guess if you're into this kind of movies.
I definitely do to the right audience.
Yeah, like if you're into these, like if you like, if you watched Audition when we recommended it, if you watched The Grudge and all that, and you're already into the Japanese thing, maybe, and maybe if you like Scott Pilgrim and Kill
Just
Bill Volume 1 and that level of gore,
mm,
if you were watching Scott Pilgrim wishing they did it right,
mm,
why can't they get the formula right? Well, here's them getting the formula right in a way. But yeah, it's very gory, like
yeah,
over the top.
and just know that with all the gore, it's not there to like scare you or disturb you. It's there to actually make you laugh, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um, so when I first saw it, I mean, I picked up on that instantly. But like, I've had other people see it and they just don't get it.
Who played the nurse?
I don't know. That's a
Because she
good
was like,
question.
I just remember they were selling her as being like the sex symbol of the movie. But like,
Yeah, yeah,
I,
I don't know who she was. So
I just love that. Like that, like I said, that one scene where she's like, whatever, forget what she was doing. She was doing something in her office, and like every boy was at the door just watching her.
it was when Vampire Girl's blood was on the floor and
Oh
she
yeah,
was
she's
trying
trying
to.
to get it with the mop. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and because of how she's moving, they're all like, oh, they're all swooning over her.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I guess she was
Oh,
swooning over.
dude, here we go. I'm watching. I was on IMDb and it said two classic characters and it said one effed up movie.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
That is a very good way of describing it.
So it's got some big connections to a lot of the movies we've already talked about. Because isn't The Grudge and stuff, isn't that also tied into The Ring? Isn't that the same production company or something?
I don't know what the connection is.
Yeah. They're all seem to be connected in some
Yeah,
way. I don't know if
I mean,
that means that.
it's a style that hits.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's because like maybe the Japanese movie industry is not as big as the U.S. one, so a lot of the movies will end up having some kind of interplay with each other. But
Well, it's also a cultural thing.
yeah,
It's a whole cultural thing with the spiritual world and the folklore and everything like that.
yeah, it was definitely an interesting film. I'm glad to have seen it. I will go through what I have to make this video happen, but I don't ever foresee watching Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl ever again.
Now, I'm going to go back to Kill Bill for a second
Okay.
because we were talking about February 9th, and you said Sabrina would be a same, different, different, different.
Yeah.
I'm going to propose a same thing for Kill Bill, which we don't have to watch, and I'm not going to watch it. But the movie we want to watch for this, Gothic and Lolita Psycho. Let me try to say it again. Gothic and Lolita Psycho, which is a same, different of Kill Bill in the style that's the same as Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl.
Okay.
And I will just put it this way: it has probably one of the best action scenes I've ever seen in my life.
Are you comparing it to Kill Bill 1 or both of them together?
I would probably say like both of them together, even though this is one movie, because I've only seen Kill Bill 1, but it's that same thing. And it's that same thing as Scott Pilgrim too, where it's one person at a time type of thing. So you could say it's the same as Scott Pilgrim or same as Kill Bill.
Kill Bill 1 and 2 literally just came out on 4K, and I'm like, they promised at one point to make a combined movie,
Mm-hmm.
and they still haven't done it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe he doesn't want to pay Lucy Liu again, because I just remember that Quentin Tarantino and Lucy Liu got along as well as Oil and Water from the stories I've heard of that movie, which is why she's not in the second film.
Yeah.
He literally cut her out of the second film to cut her paycheck as a FU. that's how much of a pain this woman was to deal with. So
I haven't seen the second one, so I don't know how different it is from the first one. I didn't like the first one really.
it's got the vibe is different, but
Mhm.
it's like it's not as good as the first one by any means. If you unless well then again if you didn't like the first one, maybe you do like the second one. Maybe it's more to your vibe. But it's
Mhm.
it was more laid back, and it also did it filled in a lot of the holes. The bullshit where they bleeped her name out in the first movie, they stopped bleeping her name, and it's like I don't know why they bleeped it to begin with. It was so stupid. Like I get two shits what her fucking name is. Really, she's still the bride. Whatever Beatrice, whatever. I don't care. You didn't have to bleep it, but they bleeped it for the first movie, which I thought was annoying. And that's one of the reasons I would love to see a combined version of Kill Bills 1 and 2. Besides going to make my own fan edit, which now I'm getting the idea.
See, for me, the problem is it's Quentin Tarantino.
I see. I like Quentin Tarantino. I don't know
I
if
can't stand his movies at all.
I don't know
Like
if I could stand talking to him. He's a bit of he talks a lot, but
the only one I can really watch of Quentin Tarantino is Jackie Brown, and that's kind of a different style than what he normally does.
yeah, because Jackie Brown, he's made that one. He's making that's an homage to 70s black cinema,
Yeah,
and it's an awesome. Actually, Jackie Brown's an awesome movie.
yeah.
I highly recommend that one. But like Pulp Fiction, you have to watch Pulp Fiction at least twice before you get the movie because it's kind of confusing. And then what's the other one? Oh, Reservoir Dogs was really good, and there's also Reservoir.
Basically, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I say Reservoir Dogs is an example of how you can make a movie cheap
Mm-hmm.
because they cut like every corner they could to make that movie happen.
I have a question about Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
Did they all die?
I don't remember.
Okay, so the normal answer for that is yes, they all died. I don't think they all did. If you remember, of course, normal Quentin Tarantino, you already know this is going to happen at the end of every movie. Every single character is going to point a gun at each other. They're all going to fire at the same time and kill each other. That happens like all Quentin Tarantino styles. However, Reservoir Dogs, they did that, but Mr. Pink, that was played by Steve Buscemi, was that?
Was he the one? Who's the one who was like a government informant the whole time?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But his character goes running out when the police are there, and all you hear are gunshots. So people say, "Oh yeah, he ran away and he got shot by the police." My opinion is he ran away. He goes shot at, but he didn't die. So I believe that not everyone died in Reservoir Dogs.
Mm-hmm. Well, who knows? Only Quentin Tarantino knows. He also the only one who knows what's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. So
for him, everyone died. So
they all died. Everybody died, including the late great Jim Varney, who we will be revisiting. Are we wrapping this one up?
I think we're pretty done with that one.
Are we done with that, Vern? All right, Vern. Vern only shows up in one of the movies, and it's the Christmas one.
I did not know that because I've only seen the Christmas one.
Yeah, cause he did all those ads, and Vern was always the cameraman.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Vern character only makes it into one of the movies, which you would think that since his entire act was built on that, they would just keep going back to the well, but they don't.
Yeah.
Which is a testament to them. It's like they were like, we're not going to rest on our laurels, I guess, or I don't know, maybe they couldn't write the character in and have it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we ready to do this?
Let's do it. Should you bother, which we don't have a jingle for.
All right, so this is Should You Bother? And this is, oh, shoot, I don't have the right thing up. I have the movie we just did. Where are we? This one is called Ernest Goes to Africa. It's a 1997 comedy film directed by John R. Cherry. He directs pretty much all of them, starring Jim Varney as Ernest P. Worrell. The plot centers around Ernest inadvertently acquiring a pair of African artifacts that are highly sought after by a criminal organization. To retrieve the artifacts, the criminals kidnap Ernest and his love interest, prompting a comedic adventure through Africa filled with slapstick humor and cultural misunderstandings. Yeah, this
So
film is like
hold on. Wait, because you went first on the last two.
Oh, I was going to finish the rundown.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
Almost. The film is the 9th installment in the Ernest franchise and is notable for its lighthearted tone and Varney's signature comedic style. That's what this one's notable for? All right, go right ahead.
This movie is forgettable. And I know that's a common thing that people say, oh, this, it's forgettable. No, this is literally forgettable because I saw this a week and a half ago and I'm struggling to remember what I saw. There's a few things that I do remember out of it, but most of it is pretty much gone at this point.
Okay, so this movie to me was the first one I've seen where he has a love interest, which is, it's not in all the movies, but it's a reoccurring thing where Ernest is in love with some girl who is kind of plain looking. She's somebody that most men wouldn't really notice.
She had a nice body.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And she apparently that actress is in a few of the Ernest movies, but
Okay.
they dressed her up so well I couldn't even tell. So he's in love with her, and she has a mundane life as a waitress, and she's thinking of adventure, and she wants to see the world.
Mm-hmm.
So Ernest gets her wrapped up in this whole thing, and the whole movie starts off where it's funny. In the beginning of Ernest Goes to Camp, the movie starts off with a sacrifice, and that's almost how this one starts off too.
Yeah.
It actually goes full circle because they actually do reference Ernest Goes to Camp in Africa. So this is almost like this, like kind of to wrap the whole thing up. It's one of the last. I think this is not the last movie. It's one of the last movies he did. So this one here, there's these jewels. They're the eyes of some statue that's in Africa. They get stolen in the beginning of the movie, and they somehow make their way to the States. And Ernest, he finds them like this one. It gets stolen and gets stolen again, and apparently gets stolen multiple times. And the guy who currently has them is running through a flea market, and he hides them at the booth of a guy where the guy running the booth is asleep. So the guy just hides it in like the bargain basket.
Yeah.
Like everything for $1. And Ernest is shopping there, and he happens to find these two diamonds, and he sees them that are 50 cents a piece. So he buys them, and the guy's still sleeping, and he actually pins $1 to the guy's shirt along with his business card, which is so stupid,
Yeah.
This is how he gets himself in trouble. And this leads, of course, to him getting tracked down by the criminal organization that wants these diamonds. And because Ernest is seen talking to the waitress, they think that the waitress have something to do with it. So they kidnap her, which leads to them kidnapping Ernest. And they both end up in the magical land of Africa. And in Africa, they run across an African tribe. And this is not even the most racist thing in the movie. This is just one of the racist things in the movie. One of two big racist things in the movie, I should say. And I'm not saying that Jim Varney and these people are racist people. I think that they're just stupid with some of their writing. And Ernest is there. They're in a golf cart, which for some reason is driving way longer than a golf cart should drive. But if you think about Ernest Goes to Camp, there's a golf cart that drives through the entire movie. So this is another callback to Ernest Goes to Camp. One of the other callbacks is there's a callback in the Army movie. I'm confusing them, but there are callbacks to this movie that Ernest Goes to Camp. So he goes and he's with the girl. They're driving with this golf cart. They're driving through the African desert in a golf cart, and they come across this cannibal tribe. They don't know they're cannibals, but they come across this cannibal tribe, and Ernest goes, let me take care of this. I used to work at a record store. And then he walks over and starts talking like jive or something. Like, what's up, my brother? Like, to this, and they're ready to kill him. They're literally talking in their tongue like, let's chop his head off. And because of the Ernest charm, he finds some way out of it. But it is like
That's what made no sense, was that all of a sudden that one lady was like making out with him.
Yeah, I know. Like, they're talking, and this woman just keeps kissing him and kissing him and kissing him, and he's like, he's not getting weirded out by it. Well, he is a little bit, but like not as much as probably a normal person would. Where they're like, who the fuck is this woman? Why does she keep touching me? And yeah, so that would happen. And then the other one, is this the one where he pretends he's Indian so he can get into the country club?
No, that doesn't sound familiar.
He's not Hey You in this?
No, I don't remember that.
I might be remembering it with another movie then, because like he's supposed to
remember that I said this movie was completely forgettable, and now that you're like talking about it, things are finally coming back to me, but they're just not there anymore.
I think it's this movie where he goes and he's trying to
maybe it is. I think it is.
He goes, yeah. So he pretends that he's Indian, and this is supposed to be the most racist part of the movie, where he's I guess wearing blackface, even though it's like the worst supply of blackface I've ever seen. Of course, it's Ernest. Of course, it's going to be screwed up like that.
Yeah.
They're trying to say he was covered in mud. That was actually the excuse when they were questioned about this. So he pretends that he's Indian so he can get into this club, and then he dresses into his aunt character, where he's the woman. And this character shows up in like almost all of the movies except for Camp.
Yes, it was this movie. Yes.
Yeah, and so it's a whole. It's him playing characters, but he doesn't play as many characters in this one. And yeah, the movie is just. It's kind of forgettable because I even forgot where I was going to go with the whole thing with the lady. It's something about she was like going to bury her husband's ashes, but she uses that he's using it as a way to get the girl out. Long story short, with the love interest, he goes through this whole adventure with her, and at the end of it, she's adventured out, and she no longer wants a man of adventure. She wants boring. She basically wants what Ernest was in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And she thinks now that he's too adventurous for her. And, and Ernest, his whole character is like, yes, I guess I'm just too adventurous for Ernest P. Worrell, the world's most adventurous man, because he's like, stupid. and yeah, it's a forgettable movie. It's definitely not the best Ernest movie. It might be the worst. If you're going to watch an Ernest movie, don't watch Ernest Goes to Africa. Just watch the Christmas one. Just skip it all and watch the Christmas one.
If you don't have a good memory, don't watch it, because if you do have a good memory, it might not be forgettable for you, and you want it to be forgettable.
Yeah, you want this movie to go in and out of your head as quick as humanly possible, because it's not very good. This movie was filmed back-to-back with Ernest Joins the Army. In fact, both of these movies were filmed in Africa, in South Africa.
Okay.
Because it's cheaper to film there than it is to film in the States.
Yeah.
And Ernest in the Army, he actually makes a direct reference to Ernest Goes to Camp.
Gotcha.
So this one has the reference where he's driving the golf cart. And then in the next movie, which is the final one, as Ernest in the Army, he mentions that he used to be a camp counselor.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's how. And I think that was kind of a beautiful thing where they kind of do bring the whole thing full circle. What I do know about Jim Varney is that he took this character very seriously. The whole production team took this very seriously. And is there some effed up parts? Oh, yes, especially in this movie. But usually these are pretty good kid films, just not Ernest Goes to Africa.
It's just not a very good film.
It's not a very good film. Ernest in the Army is a better movie, and that's not even that good. So the first four movies. Actually, the first movie is Dr. Otto and the Glamorous Beam or something like that, which is a movie we probably should do at some point, because I haven't watched that one either, but that one's really weird. And it's not really an Ernest film as much as a Jim Varney film, because Ernest is only in it for a couple of minutes. There's like 10 Ernest films, right? 4 of them are from Disney. And the rest of them were all done by the same, but it's literally done by the same commercial production company that made all the Ernest commercials.
Gotcha.
So you could imagine how much of a budget they had. Didn't have much of a budget, and it shows. They cut corners wherever they possibly can. They went from the movies were first all filmed in the U.S. and then they all moved to Vancouver, which is cheaper than the U.S. And then they all moved to Africa because it's cheaper than Canada.
Mhm.
So you can imagine what these budgets were like.
Yeah.
And at this point, you could tell that Jim Varney's not he's not into it anymore. Like he's not he's a professional and he's doing his job, but the heart's
He's
not
done too
fully
long,
there
basically.
anymore. What's that?
He's done it too long at that point, and I
Exactly.
think
And
he
it
realized
makes
that.
sense. Yeah. I mean, for anybody to do a character, like especially when it's like a character who's kind of thought of to be stupid, you know.
And you could say a character that doesn't have any sort of dynamic traits to them, so it's always the same static character, movie by movie.
Yeah. The love interest was Linda Cash. She was also in Ernest Rides Again, which I also haven't seen. Ernest Goes to School, which I did see and actually was pretty good. So she's in a few of the other Ernest movies as well. And she, because in Ernest Goes to School, she plays a German scientist. So she does have a bit of a range.
Okay.
So I'm like on Wikipedia right now, and I just saw her name come up.
So here's what I'm realizing here on this episode. Ernest Goes to Camp. I didn't really watch it, but I kind of gave it a negative for what I saw. You gave it a negative overall, right?
Yep.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. You, of course, loved it. I gave it a negative. Ernest Goes to Africa. I think we're both giving it a negative, right?
Yep.
Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl. I loved it. You didn't really give it a negative. So I think that's kind of disturbing in a way, is that actually comes out as like the best movie out of what we talked about in a way.
That won the day.
Wow. So yeah.
So other movies that are with Ernest, and one I haven't really watched yet is Goes to Jail, which is supposed to be the best one. Which,
yeah, you mentioned that.
Which how good Saves Christmas is. It's got a big hill to climb. And then the other one I haven't watched yet is Rides Again, but I heard Rides Again sucks.
Okay, gotcha.
I watched Scared Stupid. Scared Stupid was okay. If you like movies with trolls, it's a troll movie. And
is that trolls? Is it the mythological creature?
Yes.
Okay, not the people on the internet.
No, not the internet wasn't around at this point. Gotcha. So I'm talking about mythological creatures. It's the last one of the 4 Disney films to be made. Was Scared Stupid. It's made by Touchstone Pictures. Touchstone Pictures is a subsidiary of Disney. Just in case you're about to put that in the comments.
Well,
no, it's not from Disney. It's from Touchstone. Touchstone is Disney.
Ernest Scared Stupid could have had internet trolls on it. You know how?
How?
2 words. Marty McFly.
Oh, Marty McFly.
There you go.
Yeah, Scared Stupid. That was okay. I'm not a big fan of troll movies. With movies like trolls as the bad guy, they don't exist. I don't know.
Yeah, we watched a Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl.
That's true. Ernest movies, if you ever watched the Marx Brothers movies, their Ernest movies are a lot like the Marx Brothers movies, where it's always the Marx Brothers. Every movie, they have a different job, they're in a different situation, but they're always the same character. All the differences in the Marx Brothers movies, sometimes they'll change their character names, where Ernest is always Ernest. Yeah. But there's never really any real references between the movies. He's just always the same guy.
Yeah.
And which I could see, I'm surprised they didn't make more of these movies, because it is kind of like an easy thing to make. You just can take any comedy movie and just say, oh, okay, burn a fish out of water. All right, we'll put Ernest in it.
I mean, yeah, totally. Ernest Goes to the government. Ernest Goes to Congress. I mean, that would have been great.
What if it's like, okay, now you got me the idea. That I'm going to run with this now. Ernest Goes to Congress. So it's a campaign, and it's a collusion between the 2 parties where they already picked that one guy's just going to win, and they just need to have somebody there just to make it look like it's a contest, and that somebody happens to be Ernest. But Ernest ends up becoming loved by the people, and they vote him in. And then all of a sudden, now Ernest is in Congress, and he's screwing everything up. He's ruining meetings. He's breaking walls. He always wears the same outfit, so he's wearing the same outfit while everybody's wearing a suit. Oh my God, this would have been amazing.
It actually would have been good because he didn't always wear the same outfit. When he was a character, he wore different outfits. But it would have been good if they had some style of a suit that was similar to his normal attire.
Which they could have done, yeah.
Yeah.
Ernest Goes to Congress really could have been something. That would have been funny.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, when we did Ernest Saves Christmas, I made the joke about Ernest Goes to Jail. I didn't expect it to actually be a movie.
Yeah.
Apparently it was. And I was thinking, like, I wonder if there's a porn parody where like Ernest gets laid.
Yeah, I don't want to find out.
It's like, I'm Ernest, and wow, you're bending over in front of me. I can't be looking at that because I am a moral character. He did one called Slam Dunk Ernest, which I also haven't fully watched yet, which is also supposed to be good. So I don't know.
See, if you did that what you're talking about, you could do Ernest loses his virginity, and you could have him go to Penis Arrow Peninsula.
Yeah.
And he could then reference Ernest Goes to Camp by using the line, "Is that your smallest needle?"
I had everything. I love those kids. Gee, I'm glad it's raining. All right. Yeah, if you have any interest at all in Ernest Goes to Camp, going back to the beginning real quick, go look for the song "Gee, I'm Glad It's Raining," and that is the best part of the whole movie. Is him singing that song. It's a very touching song. It feels Disney-esque, and that's probably the most Disney part of the movie. As for Africa, don't even bother. And I think we're ready to take this one home.
And let's just add that if you are looking for an actual good song, you can also YouTube, since you mentioned the Ernest song, you could Google Moon River with Audrey Hepburn doing it. Or if you want a fun song, you could YouTube the beginning of Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl with Pinky Pinky Love and watch what happens during that scene.
That was a messed up movie. They're taking her body parts and like she was using it as a propeller on her head or something. That was insane. I'm like, what? Yeah, what am I watching? But that is our birthday episode. Happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike, as well, too.
And also,
yeah, Ben, it's good that you're having a birthday. Happy birthday to you as well, too.
Thank you very much. This was our birthday episode. Thanks for tuning in. And next week, what are we doing next week?
Next week, we're still finding out because remember, we're recording this a little bit early, so we don't know what's going on officially for the 26th, 100% wise. But what we do know is because it's a BM show, it will be good.
Yes, we're trying to pack the house next week, but we don't know if that's going to be possible. So
yeah.
If
not, we're going to pack the house with just us.
I mean, is there anything that we could push up if we had to, or we'd have to watch?
No, but I think that the topics that we threw out for that we could do ourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
One of them we could do ourselves, which is that the game that games that you're going to remember forever, and it sounds like Tron may be available no matter what.
Okay, so that'd be a good topic for him.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens at this point.
And with that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, but we will be here.
We will be here next week. And thank you for listening. And if you have any interest in watching any of these movies, I'm sure they're all streamable at some location. I know you can watch Goes to Africa is on. It's on YouTube for free.
For free, yes. Vamp Girl is on YouTube for free.
And it's also, Breakfast at Tiffany's. I'm not sure where that is because I actually own a copy of that. And
That's probably. I'm sure that's one you're going to have to stream, like maybe rent to stream.
I'm sure somebody has it. Hold on, now you got me looking here. So let me see. Breakfast.
Yeah, well, I'm sure somebody's like uploaded it somewhere on the you're not supposed to go here to download web.
According to juststream.com, it is on Paramount Plus.
Okay, there you
So
go.
if you have Paramount Plus or MGM Plus, it apparently is also on. You can watch it as part of your subscription, or it's also available for streaming on all your popular sites that charge you full price to rent or buy a movie.
Yes.
Currently $12.99 at Microsoft Store on sale.
Okay.
I do recommend. I recommend if you want to get into classic movies, Audrey Hepburn is a beautiful place to start because she leads you right into Humphrey Bogart, and once you hit Humphrey Bogart, oh man, you start hitting some really good movies with him doing his horrible stale acting, but they surround him with good actors.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
He's like Humphrey Bogart is like. Who's the guy from? I'm tired. It's 3 a.m. right now. The guy from Matrix, Keanu Reeves. He is like the Keanu Reeves of the 30s. He is the same character in every single movie, but they surround him with all these great character actors, and it just makes it work. But,
no way.
Well, he's not like Keanu Reeves, but I'm just saying he's the same character in every movie like Keanu Reeves.
I got it. I understood.
Like he's like, yeah, this looks like the start of beautiful.
Start of something.
Start of something. But now we're at the end of something. Thank you for listening. How far are we into this episode? I haven't even looking at the time.
I will tell you once we're done. So on that, good night, everyone, or good day, or whenever you're watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Later.